Hi, welcome back to another book talk with moi. I normally focus on young adults because those are the peeps that I work with. But today I want to do something different. I want to look at 3 picture books for young children. And I'm older. If you ask my teens, I'm old. But I do derive a lot of pleasure from picture books, and I have worked with kids of all ages. So I'm often asked for recommendations on books for kids of all ages. And 2020 was a tough year for everybody. So I decided to select 3 books. 3 books that I feel really epitomize what we as adults need to focus on for all of our kids, but especially for our little ones. And I hope that this helps. So, even my big kids out there, you would love these books. So, the first one I want to talk about is I Am Every Good Thing. And it is by Derrick Barnes, and it is illustrated by Gordon C. James. And please, you have to know that the artist is just as important as the writer because together they make magic. So please give props to both. Now, I am a huge fan of Derrick Barnes. I love his work. And all of the authors I'm introducing you today have just splendid titles to read to your children. I Am Every Good Thing, I am so happy to say, really got kudos from a lot of people this year and wonderful reviews. I'm going to tell you why I feel it is important. This last year was a struggle, and a lot of our children had to face a lot of changes. And I Am Every Good Thing is just that. It talks about why I am every good thing. So I'm not going to read the book because that'd be a violation of copyright, and I want you to go out and read it yourself. But let me just show you one of the pages that I really love, okay? So I love this, okay? Falling off skateboards, okay? Now, if you're like me, you fall off everything. You don't even need to be doing something athletic, okay? But look at this. Oh, I am right back on my feet again. Okay? And what I love about what Derrick does throughout this book is he talks about all the different possibilities of what you can be good at. Now, I'm going to be really amazed if your child is every good thing that's listed in this book. But there has to be something that you can talk about with your child. Now, I am a firm believer in our children being good things, or our children being special. But they are not going to be good things at everything. And what this book is excellent at is opening up a conversation with your children about what are you good at? How are you a leader? Do you get back up again? Well, how come? Like, why is it if you fall, it's hard? This is a great book to stop and to think about those questions. Because resiliency, for example, that's falling down and getting back up again, is a really key and important element in what we've experienced in 2020. For some of our kids who've had to do virtual learning or just even social distancing and being away, that's a really hard emotion to deal with. So how do we deal with those things? And this, I Am Every Good Thing, is a really great way of celebrating the specific things about us, right? About your child having a conversation, and then you too. How am I a bag of chips, right? But also being able to be specific. And if you're not good at something, that's all right, because what? You're good at this, aren't you? So I really feel like you need to look for some books like Derrick Barnes and Gordon C. James's I Am Every Good Thing to celebrate those specific good things. And don't be vague. If this is an opportunity for you to find out what your child is good at, take that opportunity and celebrate and let them know what you're good at. They may have already figured out you're not so hot at doing math. All of my students, when they come in the library, know don't ask Ms. Zufa any questions on math. But I can help you with those other subjects. Maybe not science either. But that's what we need to celebrate. So help your child find reasons to celebrate because 2020's been hard. And let's focus on the good things that we have, okay? So look for those books, the ones that celebrate, and be specific about what we're great at. And then those things that we're not great at, that's okay, because we can't have the whole tamale, all right? So the next thing that I want to talk about has to do with feelings as well. And this is by Lita Judge, whom I just adore. When You Need Wings. You're going to find out I love all these authors, so, just go with it. And I love all of her work. And she is also the artist as well as the writer of this work. I am a person who has anxiety, which I've talked about in other book talks. And that is actually what this book is about, though she never calls it that. And I just want to show you this illustration, okay? So it's Wordless here. And of course, some of our children may have marched off to school this year physically. Some may have not. It may have been different. But you can see, right, this little, just the feelings, right, with the Wordless picture book. And she's going off, and for her, it's preschool, okay? Now, it's new. It's new. And this is before I even get to the title page, okay? And it's a new experience. And I feel like all of our children have done something new this year, right? I'm going to keep holding up Lita's book so you see it. All of our kids have done something new this year. They've had to. Learning about social distance, learning about maybe a new way of doing school, learning about maybe they're not able to go over to their friends, all those sorts of things. Emotions are very difficult. And I know at least a lot of students that I'm close to have had extra stress, extra anxiety. As adults, we've had to learn new things too. What I love about this book is how the young woman copes, this little girl copes with those new feelings, okay? And so she is able to take a breath. And I don't want to tell the book because I really want you just to read the book, but she takes a breath. And I just want to show you that part. Actually, is this cover right here. This is when she takes the breath and she closes her eyes amidst all the turmoil that is happening, okay? And when she closes her eyes and she takes her breath, she's able to imagine a world in which she feels safe. And I want you to be surprised by this because I actually ended up having to buy a print from Lita because this gave me such calmness this last year. And there is something about having the ability to talk about your feelings. And sometimes it's really hard to talk about something so complicated as stress or anxiety or worries. And books can be a really great jumping off point for talking about it. But what I love about this book is it also talks about how this young girl finds a solution for dealing with her emotions and regulating them. Now, for those of you who have spent more time with your kids than you're used to in 2020, this is something that we also face as teachers in school, is working with children and finding ways, because every person is different, on how to regulate how we feel. And it's really important to have discussions on that because everyone's different. What works for one of us does not work for somebody else. And this is a really great segue, a book like this that has a beautiful story of demonstrating how one person deals with it and then turning to your child and asking, have you felt like this? Is this something you felt? What have you done? And then coming up with plans and ideas and also sharing your own emotions. I will tell you, my mother has been a preschool teacher for over 40 years. And this was something she did with me and my sister regularly, talking to us not just about our feelings, but hers. And it's something that she does with the children that she teaches. The only difference between adults and children is being able to express ourselves a little bit better. And that's what we serve as a role model for. And books can be an excellent experience for that. When You Need Wings is single-handedly the best book I have ever read for children about dealing with worries and dealing with anxieties. And it's a beautiful story and it's beautifully illustrated. And I just got to show you the picture. I got to show you the picture. The picture that stole my breath. And I love it. In the midst of all chaos, when she closes her eyes, it's what she sees. Oh, This is what I needed, right? So look for these too when connecting with your children. Okay, books where you can talk about, how are you every good thing? Tell me about your good things, right? And then tell me about when you need wings and how do you find them, right? And then when you have those wings, how do you feel, right? How do you keep them up? These are important things to talk about with our kids in 2021 because it's still a struggle, okay? So the last book that I have is by Angela Dominguez, and yes, I love her too. And this is Sing, Don't Cry. Angela Dominguez does also, she has several books as well and a beginning reader chapter book series, which is very well known. And she is also the artist of this book. And I just want to show you because I think it's just beautiful. This is semi-biographical. I don't know if I should call it biographical, Angela, so, correct me if I'm wrong. But this is about her grandfather. And so I guess in some ways I would call it biographical. And this is her grandfather. And oh, isn't he handsome? And he was in a mariachi band. And look at this. Oh, I'm a person that loves family. Okay. And that's the third thing I want to talk about is family. Okay. And so, yeah, look at it. It's in the back. And I love that you actually get real photos of him in addition to Angela's drawings. And I love that she says it's dedicated to my family, especially my abuela Opalinar. Okay. And what I want to say is that she talks about how once a year, right, her abuela would come from Mexico to stay with us. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is tradition. Now, her grandfather has an amazing story. Oh, look at this. It's in a pretty, I love to see underneath the jackets too. But let me go put this back on so that you can properly see the title, Sing, Don't Cry. For those of you who are familiar, okay, with Mexican culture, you will know this song, which is beautiful, okay? And it is something that they do together. Music is part of their family. It is part of their tradition. Their abuelo is a musician. And again, part of the tradition is every year he comes to visit. And this really touched my heart because my grandfather and my grandmother, on my mother's side, they were like my other parents. And we were called their girls, just like my mother. And traditions count in families. This has been a really hard year too because of social distancing. And perhaps with older people in your family, you have not been able to see them. Okay. And, or maybe to there may have been loss. And for some children, this may be the first time they've experienced some of those things. And it's part of the reason, besides loving Angela, her work, I like this with the Sing, Don't Cry. For me, a piece of our family always lives on in the traditions that we hold. And this is one of the traditions too that you will read here. You will learn about her grandfather's life. Okay. And the hardship that he went through. And I think it's important that we recognize with our children that stories, yes, all of these stories, okay, are a way that we share. And also that the family stories that we have are a way that we share too. Whether it is the stories of who we are or it is the traditions that we have. So for example, I will share one. In our family, we always have black-eyed pea soup for New Year's Eve, a tradition. And everybody would stir the pot for good luck. It's not something that everybody does, but it was something from my mother's family that was held over. And so my mother and my sister, they had black-eyed pea soup. And so, my sister made it and my mother made sure she had a chance to stir the pot. And so there are certain things that you do. And if you have certain traditions like that, it may not be the food you eat. It may be certain festivals that you celebrate. It may be certain stories that you share. It may be how you eat. When I was a kid, we started out at the dining room table and we ended up on TV trays. It just depends. Everybody has their own things that they do within their family. And being able to share more and more of these things with your children is a wonderful way of also being able to hold on to who you are. And just like sharing your emotions, sharing those things that you are good at, being able to share who you are as a family helps to make a strong community. And so Sing Don't Cry. Please read it too. Her grandfather, oh my goodness. Her grandfather overcame so much difficulty. And I also think it's also one of the other reasons that I picked this. It also demonstrates too the power of resilience and the power of being able to move forward, and also the ability to, if you can sing, right, instead of crying, the ability to hold on to those that you love. So that's my focus for you when it comes to reading with your children and looking for books this year. We want to make sure, at least for me, I'm doing the same for myself too as an adult, because this is good advice for adults. We want to make sure we sing and we don't cry. Look at the traditions that you have and share those with your children. Okay. Look at the stories, look at the pictures, look at the things that you didn't realize were really a tradition in your home. I didn't know about that black-eyed pea soup was a thing that was just in my family until I married my husband, and that's not something he's heard of. So those are certain things, yes. Look too at emotions. Check in. Yeah, check in. And books can be a really great segue into that, especially books with emotions in it that have a story, not just ones that say this is what the emotion is. And check in and see, like, how do we do this? How do we regulate? And regulate's not a word that little kids will understand, but it's one that you will. Because being able, if you're angry, to find a way to, how do we gather ourselves again? Right? These are important things. If we feel frustrated, our kids are going to feel frustrated. They already are. How do we check in with ourselves again? Okay? Because this is an important thing to be able to establish and to find that empathy between ourselves and our children to be able to move forward. And lastly, we need to be able to point out those good things, right? Hey, if you're good at everything, hook me up so you can take care of me for the rest of my life. But let's celebrate those specifics. What are we good at? And share back. This is all about sharing, okay? Every single book I've shared with you today. So, I Am Every Good Thing by Derrick C. Barnes with Gordon C. James. Check it out. When You Need Wings by Lita Judge. And the last book I shared with you was Sing, Don't Cry by Angela Dominguez. I hope that you have found something that is worthwhile for you to read today, and something perhaps that I said that makes sense for yourself, as well as if you have little ones in your life. So until then, happy reading, good health, and for my bigger kids out there next week, I have words for you for 2021. Thank you.